Hi, hi. Thanks for joining us on Palimpsest Live Art and Beyond. My name is Ross. We're meeting around the world today as we do every week. Laura Spedetto in UK. Hi, Laura.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. And Denise is in Saint Jerome, Quebec. Hi, Denise.
Hello.
On completely the other side of the world, and including tomorrow, Cheryl Wilcox with some beautiful paintings behind her. Hi, Cheryl. Good morning. And hi, Rose L. Williams in British Columbia. Hi, Rose.
Hi.
I love your hair. And
Thank
Stephanie is in Toronto or right by Toronto. Hi, Stephanie. How are you feeling today?
Feeling better, thanks. I think I'm on the upswing. Woo!
Upswing, yeah. Because
COVID.
We still have those things roaming around, just like our artwork roams around all around the world.
Good segue.
Keep calling that out. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
And who are you, Ross?
And I'm Ross. I'm in Los Angeles, California, the United States. And what we do is we're sending around our Palimpsest project. We actually box up and mail to each other the works that we're working on. We have themes that we work on. We send them out, and then we consecutively work on the same piece of artwork. This is daring for a number of different reasons. One, because of the damage that might occur in the post office, except we're using some beautiful boxes from Masterpakusa, which really don't seem to get damaged at all. They are strong, like Titan steel, which I think might be the name of their box, Titan Strong Box. And also difficult and challenging for us because we have to actually go into the pieces that we each work on, something that might be like dear and precious and expressive, and do something to it. And, like that's just inherently risky. Wouldn't you guys say that's an inherently risky proposition to go work on somebody else's piece? But in this case, it's not really somebody else's piece. We work together collaboratively. And today, I think we have a really deep kind of question. And the question is working collaboratively, is it inherently social activism? And I know, Rose, you had a really good definition that I think you looked up. I don't know if it's your definition or if you looked up the definition about
it's Google.
Good old Google. Thank you, Google.
Okay, so we're going to define social activism as working with other people to bring about a change in society. The word social applies both to society and to the idea that the activism fosters opportunities for participation. It reflects a personal choice to engage in society. There's the definition.
That's a great definition. And in some ways, I think that probably talks to just being an artist, an art practitioner in some ways, that we're making some kind of a commentary and interacting with the world at large with our work in trying to make some kind of change. But what we're doing is inherently, like, the nut of it's a little bit different in that way. In some way, what we have is a social practice. We're working outside of our own studios in order to, make a statement about something. We all met during the height of COVID. We've been doing this now for, how many years is it?
Since April 2021.
2 years.
April 22 years. Wow,
Almost.
That's amazing.
Years.
Yeah, 1.5. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so we had this idea that if we were to, and we've hardly ever met in person, a couple of us have met in person, that in this way we would get to expand the world and get to know each other and have a different experience than just working online. So what do you all think about this idea? That is collaboration inherently a form of social activism? Is it inherently social practice?
Well,
is that what we're doing? Is that what you're doing?
When I hear Rose's description of the definition, it immediately brings to me the question, and I don't think we've ever discussed this. How are we as a group? Are we as a group trying to create a change in society? And what would that change? What are we looking to accomplish outside of creating paintings together? What would then be our goal in changing society?
Well, I think it's very fundamental that we highlight the benefits of human connection, interconnectedness, the energy that Stephanie paints about, that fuels our world, that is beyond the tangible. I think that the connectedness that we've been creating between us, beyond speaking, beyond, you know, like the personalities, but the art work itself being a means of transmitting thoughts and feelings and emotions to one another, I think that's been very powerful. And as personally, when I studied expressive arts therapy, the other program in that university was art and social activism. So there was like a kind of overlap in terms of the faculty and their fields of study, that there was like artists essentially have some kind of intervention when they do their art. We're sort of like, we're almost always kind of making an intervention in the world around us.
Interesting. That's really, that's quite deep.
Yeah. I guess I've never really thought about my work in as an artist in that sense.
Nor have I, but I have thought about our work together a little bit in that sense, in that we're creating, like, it's a small community that we have, you know, like just the 6 of us, but in a way it's not, because it's really, it kind of, it ripples out to involve anyone who's interested in it. You know what, COVID fog brain, I just lost my train of thought. Woo! Next. Sorry. No, really. I was just like, I had a great idea and rats. It's okay. They'll come back.
Well, it is a COVID fog brain type of practice that we're doing, right? Like, since we started, it was in the middle of just like, no one was going anywhere, no one was doing anything. And part of our mission was that we weren't just going to connect online, that we would connect person to person, right? That was like a very, very central part of what we were doing, and that we could cut through like a knife to actually have human interaction in this world.
Yeah, a tangible connection to each other.
Connection. Yeah.
And it really was born in a time of isolation.
Yeah.
We were all COVID isolate. It made everyone on the planet familiar with the experience of isolation.
Yeah. Very true. And so that's what it is. It's the idea of us connecting and just forming something, you know, greater than the sum of its parts, I think, you know.
Lara, what do you think?
And in many ways, artistically, personally, emotionally, collaborations are great. Art collaborations, I think.
To be honest, I haven't thought about it until now, until the surge this question. I didn't thought that it could be something that has a social impact, because I don't know if I can say egoistically, I thought what I could take from this experience. But while I was listening the explanation of the question, I thought that we managed during a period of that we were close to share our energy, and so to find a different way to spread this energy. And because I think it's important, the positive energy, not to be closed by negative energy. So probably we needed to share something. It's something that I'm thinking just now, because I'm really honest, I haven't thought about if it could be helpful for someone else. I thought that it was helpful for myself.
Yeah.
So But I hope that if someone is watching us, can be inspired to see that we are in different parts of the world, but we are at the same time, we have in some way the same spirit, the same soul, just like we. Sorry, this is Maya.
Oh, nice.
Maya. It's like to think different. I'm amazed about the thing that being in different parts of the world, but we in some way find like the same concept. We think not in the same way, in different way, but it's like a whole.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are different, but we are all the same. So I like this concept, and
you know what?
It's more important because we are not in the same community. We have different lives. So we come from different backgrounds, from different history. So, and yeah, this is probably the thing that I love the most of this group.
Yeah, that's amazing. And can I just say something, Lara? So the reasons for me joining this group too, and like or the way I was thinking about it was also, they were also very selfish. It wasn't until like, I think I just thought of that, at one point, but I mean, I will be honest, like it was a selfish reason that I was going into this, not just selfish, but to get to know all of you guys and to be involved. But I hadn't thought of the possible effects of what it could bring to other people. Not fully anyway.
Hey, Cheryl, what are you thinking?
Oh, I like the idea of support. I just sort of think everybody needs support to be able to do stuff. So I think this collaboration is it's an example for other people to do the same with their art communities.
Yeah.
So I just sort of think support's, really important for everybody to grow.
Yeah.
We all need
Do you think
the
that
help.
do you think support is inherently social activism, or?
Yeah. I suppose just by getting together.
Well, I do think so, because it is not necessarily, I think, the support itself, but setting an example to other people that by supporting each other and by being a group like this and working together like this, you together you can be stronger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And I think that inherently is something that could bring about a social change in people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, part of the definition was the word participating. And as, I mean, I think what Cheryl is saying, like support, if you don't participate, you're not going to get any support from anybody.
Yeah.
Lara, you want to say something?
Yeah, not that I have to go because I'm so sorry. But
it's so cold. Can't leave your daughter outside.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's freezing, and I have to go to pick up my daughter. So
it's okay.
Yes.
See you next week.
Thanks, Lara.
Bye, Laura. Thanks
Bye,
for joining us.
Bye. Stay warm.
Yeah.
She said it was like 10 degrees centigrade there.
Yeah,
minus 10.
Minus 10.
Yeah.
Oh
minus.
Below
That's
zero.
cold.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
that's amazing,
cold.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You wear thick shoes.
Oof.
That's right.
Lots of layers.
Big shoes.
Lots of layers.
Because the cold comes up through the pavement.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering about this idea of support and if inherently social activism, like you were saying, Denise, I think you were saying it, that there's something in, if you're not, or maybe Rose was saying it, if you're not showing it, then you're not going to generate the kind of support, and therefore ... I'm not quite sure what that ... is, because then I'm thinking about artists, typically outside artists, that have worked outside of every kind of community. They don't have a community, they just do their thing, and their work might be discovered after their death, decades later, who knows if their work is even ever discovered. And I think it's in the nature of art to be a change, in the nature of being an artist, to be a change agent. It's in the nature of art itself. And so specifically, we're talking about collaboration. It's collaboration as artists. Does that make it definitively a social practice, a socially active practice? And I think to talk about support is it kind of does make it so, because it allows us to amplify anything that we do, influence each other in anything that, not just us, of course, but in any kind of situation, it becomes amplification.
And I think even just viewing the artworks and contemplating the concept as you just look at these finished pieces as a viewer is going to bring up all kinds of like thoughts and questions and feelings about how people work together, what can be accomplished when we combine our efforts. I mean, it's just a concept that it's like interesting to contemplate, and our pieces themselves are going to bring that. I mean, they're gaining their personalities and their characteristics as they travel around the world, their travel experiences.
Yeah.
As Cheryl said, we can only imagine like the interactions they had with the delivery people, right? So it just like, I think personally, there's a power in the artworks themselves that we're creating together, that they themselves are going to bring even just the concept of collaboration and the potentials involved to the viewer's mind. I don't think it can but when you know what the story of the painting is.
Yeah.
To me,
so
all of our, I think so too. To me, every painting that we've done is like a song that we've all composed together. Someone has laid down the bass line, someone has laid down, the keyboards, the different tracks. And then in the end, we have this amazing song. And, now we have like a whole album of songs.
Yeah, like we're a band.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and music is also something that brings about, or that can be considered social activism and bring about change. So it's not, I find it not unlike music.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Exactly.
That's a great
because
illustration. I love that.
I hadn't really, I guess, internalized, like up until this point, I've looked at these paintings as, or I've thought about them as, you look at a finished piece, because that's how you look at a painting. You judge the painting by its finished, because that's what you work towards as an artist, to create a finished piece, and that's the interaction that the public is going to have with it. But these pieces are so different because they are created by different people, that the way they are going to be viewed and interpreted, because the people who are going to be viewing them know beforehand, presumably, I would assume, in the way we would present it, that they know upfront that it's being created by multiple people, which makes the way you view the work different than looking at an art piece that is done by a single artist. I would think.
Yeah.
I would think so too. Differently as a viewer, because I think you would want to see, like, at least that's what me. If I look at me personally, if I would look at a painting and I knew it was painted by 6 different artists, I'd be trying to peel down the layers and see
exactly
which piece is done by whom and how it all fits together and how it's connected.
For sure.
And it's a totally different way of approaching a piece of art.
Yeah, it's kind of like when the surrealists used to do that automatism together, and they would create a piece or a poetry or something in a collaborative sort of unconscious, trying to tap into the unconscious. And yet when we look at them now, we do see them as a piece of art unto itself, but knowing the story just kind of adds to the layers. It's like, for me, the painting of Artemisia Gentileschi's painting of Judith holding the head of Holofernes, that's a powerful painting, but I saw it differently after I knew her story and how she had been assaulted and she had been oppressed herself as a human being. And then when I look at that painting, and it just has a different impact on me, knowing that that was what lay behind the human being who was motivated to create it.
Yeah. It's true.
I mean, we spark thought. We're sparking inquiry. And I suppose that when I was studying expressive arts therapy, just sparking inquiry is one of the definitions of an intervention.
Oh, how cool is that? You know, another thing that I was just thinking is the, okay, now I got Stephanie's.
Welcome to my world.
Oh my God, it's on me.
We're all connected.
Yep, we're all connected. It was really awesome. It was so good too. Oh well. Quick, somebody else, quick.
It'll come back.
Oh, now I remember. Okay, like usually social practices are in some ways reactive. I mean, they're certainly creative, but they're reacting or pushing against something, a societal injustice, or something that needs to be highlighted. I mean, typically it comes into the realm of social justice work, and like a protest, right? Like a sit-in, or conceptually it comes all out of this sort of art historical flow from happenings and whatever. And but we're not protesting anything, right?
I think we were
protesting COVID
isolation. We were protesting isolation.
I don't know if we were protesting it. I think we were creating,
or maybe trying to deal with it, maybe more than protesting. We were coping with isolation.
Yeah.
There was some kind of like tension involved. For me, there was a tension that motivated my participation. Absolutely. I don't know, as you say, it may not have been protest, but I suppose I was protesting against my own inertia.
Oh,
interesting.
See, whereas I think of,
very nice.
Yeah, whereas I think of COVID, I sort of think of my studio, and I have this flashback to all these crazy different moods. Heaven knows what could have happened there every day. Some days were really good, some days were bad. It was this. So I often think that'd be a fun thing to do, and I'm sure that it's all those different ways we react to a situation. Oh, isn't this great? No one around. Oh God, I'm lonely. Oh.
How long is this going to go on?
It's true. That's a very Cancerian thing to say. Very.
And this is all happening simultaneously.
Cycling through the same day. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But in addition, I think we could look at it, and maybe this is making it bigger than it is, but nowadays people are so compartmentalized and so in their own little bubbles, and we have expanded our bubbles and made it into a bigger bubble. Basically, we've opened ourselves up to other people that we did not know, and shared from very early points, basically because of the way we got together, very personal things with each other, and we're sort of forced to open up to strangers.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know.
Because we're exploring vulnerability together. We are exploring vulnerability together, even just in trying to suspend that artist ego and allow the painting to direct the flow and the intentions, because it's not easy.
No.
And you know what? I think it's even more challenging for you who have been artists, professional artists for a long time, right? Because you're ensconced in your practice and your style and all of that stuff. For someone who's
I wish that
kind
was
of just
true.
starting out, I don't. Really. But I mean, I'm not to say that I don't have an ego. I think everybody has an ego, but I can see that when you've been doing it for a long time, things become habit. Things become, you kind of become immersed in it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. This is
I think maybe even more freeing to step out of that for me,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think this would have been much more difficult for me to do as a younger artist than as an older artist. My ego was like really strong. I was like, I'm going places and keep up with me and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm like, I am where I am and who I am, and this is how I do stuff. And oh, you do stuff that way? That's cool. Let me learn from you. Like, I'm much more open-minded and fluid about a lot of things than I used to be.
Yeah, I guess
I always
easier. No, go ahead.
I think that's a maturity thing too.
Yeah.
Like,
I always thought that my why was that I just make it all up, and that everybody made it all up. I always wanted my why to be that, you know, like, but I thought it's all made up.
But you know, Cheryl, you're right. You're also right. I mean, you're also right. It is, you know, it's what you make it. Everything is made up. Life is made up. You're absolutely right.
The core of expressive arts therapy is trying to help people tap into the concept that their anxieties and fears and projections into the future is their imagination, and their imagination holds a power that they can tap into to help them heal instead of just drive them nuts.
It's all made up. It depends on how you look. Like I
say, being happy is a choice.
It's perspective. Yes,
it's all made up. It's all made up. I'm going to keep that one, Cheryl.
It's all perspective, but it's true.
But it's true.
You know, when a government changes and all of a sudden, well, I mean, gay rights, that's a perfect one in our time. You know, how it was a criminal offense. And and it's in such a short time, but now you can get married. It's almost like, so they say this and they say that. What? Like, stroke the pen.
Yeah.
One thing was
like
it's all made up.
But it's true, right? Like
the only thing that's not made up is the nature of the world. That part's not made up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everything else is made up. Religion, politics, governments, technologies.
That's why we have the power to create our own understanding of the environment that we're in. And we don't have to see it the way we did when we were powerless children. We don't have to see it the way we did when we were helpless in some kind of situation. We can change how we see our environment. That's a power. That's powerful.
I always think of that. Yeah, it's always like looking through some, you know, with a different lens, isn't it? Which is a great thing that us artists do. And I mean, the study of art history is like that. We looked at it through various lenses. We have different glasses that we put on to view. It's nice,
and often, as you say, and often when we're studying art history, the different lens is what was happening in society at the time.
At the time.
So there's that concept of it's a social activity to take part in participating to make art. Even just the individual artist participating to show your work in public. That's a type of participation that, I mean, we've talked about it. It takes courage to do that. It takes some courage to do that. It takes some kind of, you know, determination to get your perspective, your vision out there and share it. And on even just that level, artists, as you said, with music, can create change. I mean, I listen to a band called the Jerry Cans, and they're an Inuit band. And they're one of my favorite musical bands, partly because listening to their music opens my understanding of Canada and Canadians and where we come from and the shared history that I didn't know. I wouldn't have known otherwise. And all they're doing is making their music and sharing it with the world.
And then to take that just a little bit wider too, it's like the kind of scalar range that they use, the kind of vocal harmonizing, like the more these other formal parts of their music. It's a whole different ball game too. Very mind expanding kind of stuff.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't know that they thought, oh, we're going to change society with our music. I think they're just artists like us. But as a result of sharing their work with the public, I think they are creating a certain level of change. I mean, they did in me. If they did to me, they must have done to a couple other people.
Yeah.
Right. No, hey, for sure.
You hope anyways, right? So, you know, I just want to move off of this for the end of our televised program. That's not really what it is, but our streamcast here.
We'll pretend it's okay.
Because aside from making artwork, we also, a lot of us teach. and teach in different kinds of ways. That's another way of having interventions. And I know Cheryl and Rose and I do some teaching too. And Denise and Stephanie, I'm not sure if that's something that you're currently doing.
I was doing some, yeah, I was doing a little bit of volunteer teaching for the
some here and there.
Disability Association or something.
Yeah.
Disability Association, that's cool.
Yeah.
It was fun. I did it like 4 sessions. And then I was like, okay, I can't teach you anymore. That's all. I taught you everything I know. 4 sessions worth.
You're going to have to figure it out yourself.
That's right.
Gave you the tools, now go.
Taught, right? I don't know what else to teach them. I'm like, I don't know.
Muddle along now, muddle along.
Denise, what was it you would be teaching when you were teaching?
I've done like a shorter workshop, like the technique workshops, and longer. Like I have 2 different types of techniques that I work with, and one works really well on a short, like 2-hour, 2.5-hour, like base, and then the other one would be like more of a 6-week, because then there's a lot of drying time and a lot of different parts of the process that you need to go through. So I've done that in the past. It's not something that that I'd like to focus on. It's not where my joy lies, let's say.
Right.
But I've done it in the past, yes.
But may I say, for Denise, sorry, Denise, I'm going to toot your horn, because you've taught us all this tech, which is complicated stuff, right?
Yeah, but again,
I figured all this stuff out. And
from a very selfish perspective.
You keep saying this, but you've enlightened us all, right? You've really taught us all. So,
but it's not just that. Your posts for the public are very informative, and you are teaching people. You are literally giving them information that they can use, that they can grow from, and that's a form of teaching.
And as artists, I think that we have such a desire to give gifts, right? Like every time we make some kind of a picture, it's like I mean, we want to sell it too, but there's something about it that's so much like a giving of ourselves. We want somebody else to receive it, and Cheryl,
empathy, isn't it?
It is. We talk about this very often, right?
When we look at a painting. Yeah.
Is that what you focus on in your workshops? You focus on formal considerations too, color and line and value.
I do.
And all that?
I have a history of a visual art high school teacher. So when I was teaching art in high school, it's more analytical, or it's a lot of my students really want more like practical advice. When I was teaching, for instance, in a high school, we never ever teach the color wheel. It's on the wall. You know, that sort of stuff like that. It's just there for you to reference, because we're actually talking about creativity. We might talk about something, but when I'm actually teaching a lot of my formal sort of like students, they want to know how to do things. Whereas when I was teaching high school kids, it's not the way that we would teach. We would have a theme or a concept, and we'd work through it in so many different ways. But having said that, I often do some of these funny little exercises with my more mature, my age students, and they love all the crazy things that I used to do with my school kids. I go, like they're just like all these crazy things that I do with school kids. I have an exercise where I make them draw great big circles with their shoulders and stuff like that, or. And the concept is that you're using the ball of your shoulder as opposed to the tiny little things, and yet, all this sort of stuff. And I do terrible things to them, like put tables in front of them so that they can't reach their painting and they have to actually use a long, this sort of stuff.
Oh, I love it. How cool is
love
that?
it.
That's an intervention, all right.
But when I was like teaching kids, I mean, I used to do shit like make them get under the table and pretend they were Michelangelo, sort of working on the Sistine ceiling. This is what he did. You get under that table.
Wow.
So I mean, could always do lots of really like crazy sorts of things, and that's why in the course that we did, this whole idea of having one idea. What?
Yeah.
You mean I have to? What?
Yeah.
I know you would have a hard time with that. Because your ideas, you have tons.
Rose,
like,
your expressive arts therapies, that's part of your not just your history, it's something that you bring up very often. I think you draw on this experience very often, and you teach people also about the natural world and dyes and this kind of thing. How do you see all of these things combining to give a course? Like, what's your...
Well, for me, I mean, I don't want to sound egotistical, and I don't think it comes from an egotistical place. For me, the driving force is preservation of our environment and raising awareness of it, and raising awareness of the healing benefits of creative activity, because I suffered myself for so long with the endometriosis and untreated pain. And people would so often ask me, how did you get through that? How were you strong? What got you through that? What made you not just want to give up? I mean, I was misdiagnosed for 28 years and I had the equivalent of a kidney stone. So I really did, you know, have to find a way. And my way was creative activity. It was so beneficial to me personally that I decided I want to study expressive arts therapy, because I want to know the formal aspects of sharing the power of this with other people. So it's the sharing of the benefits of nature and how it heals us, and to preserve that as best we can, and being creative on any way you can. To me, like cooking, whatever it is, it's so powerful to tap into as a means of taking your mind outside of yourself, feeling like Denise talked about, a sense of accomplishment. That's so important to every single human being, to feel like we're accomplishing something, even if you're suffering from a constant kidney pain. Our society, especially in Canada right now, is making self-chosen eugenics an option if you're poor, if you're depressed, if you feel oppressed, if you feel desperate. You can ask for MAID now. And that means medical aid in dying. And for me, it's this huge issue. My best friend was the first person in Canada to get it for a non-terminal illness. And I don't want her gone. I want her feeling hope, and I want her to feel better. And I found a way to do that even in the face of like serious pain, where people were telling me, well, why don't you just get medical aid in dying? Well, I didn't want to die. I just wanted to feel better.
Yeah, no kidding. Jesus.
And I think most people do. I felt better by taking like we just talked about, changing your perspective through creating art was extremely helpful and healing. So for me, socially active is part of what my motivation to create art comes from as well. I want to touch other people. I want them to love the environment as much as Cheryl and I do. I want them to love it as much as we do, so that then they might pick up their piece of plastic and put it in their pocket and deposit it in a more responsible way, because they love their environment, not because they feel pressured, not because they feel guilty or shitty, but because they just love everything so much like we do, right? Like that's my motivation to share my art. I got a lot of art in my loft that people don't see. I could just leave it there. I don't have to show it.
Yeah. Wow. What a beautiful conversation. I hate to bring this to a close, but I think we've run out of our time right now, and we have so much more to discuss. Every week we have something at least this deep. It's extraordinary how we're going. We're going there. Come with us out there in the world. Come with us on these adventures. These are philosophical adventures. We're not just talking about art. We're talking about life and everything that art can do for us and how we'll work together. We'd love to hear your questions and your comments. And we send you our love. And I send all of you, my friends around the world, my love too. It's been so good to spend this time with you today.
You too.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
See you
you.
next week.
Bye.
Bye.